So Boston survives. They win by 5. Welcoming in Matt Moore, Jay Money. It's time for a segment of More Money. Celtics lead the series 1-0. But so quick behind the curtain, Matt Moore. Sean Grandy is the play-by-play voice of the Celtics on radio. He said in his final call, Grand Theft Celtics. That was how it felt. They stole game 1 last night. Your thoughts on the either team? The Pacers, it felt like, kind of gave this one away.
I don't know that they stole it. It was more that, like, they snuck in, they got caught, the cops were on their way, and the store owners were like, just take it. Here, just have the money, have the jewels, be on your way. And the Celtics slammed their head into the door on the way out and then still somehow got away. Look, the Celtics, I think, are going to win the NBA title. And Jay's been saying that for weeks. Jay's been saying the Celtics are going to win the NBA title. I have never seen a sequence of events and plays line up like it has for Boston. Just everything, injuries, random sequences, this game, whatever this was, the Nuggets being eliminated in the Western Conference, a team that matches up great with them. It's all fallen into place for Boston. This is looking like one of the all-time. We'll look back and just be like, oh man, one of the best teams ever, when it never felt like that. But it's not going to matter when Banner 18 goes up. Market for this is really interesting. This one, game 1 closed -9.5. Game 2 opens -9. It dipped to 8.5 and is back to 9. So I think that's really interesting. Where we've seen a little bit of resistance from the market in terms of backing the Pacers. We saw that a little bit in this one. I'm kind of expecting a swing back towards Boston as we get closer to tip of game 2.
Jay Money, your thoughts on last night's game 1 in Boston?
Yeah, I feel like it was the exact opposite of the game 7 for the Pacers in Madison Square Garden, where they're doing like the whole Reggie Miller choke job. Well, guess what? Now you guys had the absolute choke job. I feel like that was their best bet, their best chance to try to steal a game, to try to even punch the Celtics in the mouth and win one of these, win the series as well, man. So I'm really worried about the Pacers' mindset after blowing that game, especially for a young team as well these days, where these guys like a little bit softer mentality, mentally wise, just absolutely deflated. You can see the post game interviews. These guys are like they literally wanted to cry, man. So I don't see how they overcome that, like even really for the rest of the series as well, where they know that they should have been up 1-0 and they did everything right to win that game, and also did everything right to lose the game as well, man. So I would lean towards the Celtics, and they were pissed as well. Even after winning the game, you see Jaylen Brown was saying like he was not happy whatsoever. They know that they played like shit, jumped out to a 12-0 run, and then just absolutely fell asleep at the wheel ever since then, man. So really lucky win for the Celtics there, but usually when teams have a lucky win like that, they come back even stronger the next game, and the team that pissed the game away comes back even more deflated. So Celtics should come out and put their foot on the gas in game 2.
And game 2 has been their problem, really, this postseason. And that's an interesting way of looking at it, right? They don't cruise in game 1, so maybe it does wake them up for a game 2.
I'll say this, that I disagree with Jay a little bit, where it's like usually if you win but you don't play well, you sharpen up. That's actually not true for most teams. Most teams, actually, they're just like, we won. I mean, yeah, sure, but like we won, and they get a little fat and happy. However, he's right about the Celtics in this spot because the Celtics are kind of the exception. I looked this up. Boston last 2 playoffs under Joe Mazzulla is 9-0 straight up, 7-2 against the spread after they win but don't cover. So like that's kind of proof that the Celtics, unlike like the Nuggets here, I would be hammering the other side, because Denver's a team that's like, we won. What do we need to fix? Boston actually does kind of pay attention and fix this stuff. So I'm with Jay on this. I already bet when this dipped at 8.5, I got it. You might wait to see if the market comes back on this, but yeah, I like Celtics a lot in game 2.
Before we get to game 1, Western Conference Finals, just a series outlook. Jay Money, I'll go to you first here. You like the Mavericks against the Thunder. They came out of that series in 6. Are you just as confident now in the Mavericks? Are they going to make the finals?
Well, I am a little bit of a fan of the Mavs, so I always tell people I am a little bit biased to that side. So it's two different sides of me, like the biased Mavs fan and then like the professional sports bettor. So you can't, I always tell people, you can't bet with your heart, and I'm nowhere near as confident. I do think the Mavs have a puncher's chance in this series, but just like we know, the Wolves have the best defense in the league. They have the size advantage. This time, the Wolves have the size advantage over the Mavs. You're not going up against a young Thunder team who don't really have a ton of paint protection as well, or perimeter defense. defense here. But I can say the Thunder did have better shooters, in my opinion, than the Wolves. So they're going up against a much tougher defense, but maybe not as good of a like all-around offense, especially like off the bench as well. So, but it is a totally different matchup, and I really feel like it's just like versus the Nuggets. When the Wolves are allowed to play that Rucker Park style type of basketball and beat you up literally the whole game, there's nothing really any team can do. Maybe not even the Celtics as well. But if they're going to allow like the Luka Doncic mainly to get those ticky-tack fouls, then that's if the Mavs are allowed to play their offensive game, they do have a puncher's chance in this one. But they're definitely going to have to be some games where they get Rudy Gobert into foul trouble. And they're also, Naz Reid is also an absolute matchup nightmare for the Mavs. Until they get Maxi Kleber back, Naz Reid could probably do whatever the hell he wants versus the Mavs. So rooting for the Mavs, but I'm nowhere near as confident as I was versus the Thunder.
Matt Moore, one of the newer markets the last couple of years now in the NBA is the just the new award, the Conference Finals MVP, and you've actually got 2 looks for this series, 2 numbers that you like.
Yeah, the first one's going to be Luka Doncic plus 180. I love this matchup for him. I think I understand why Anthony Edwards is the favorite, because the Wolves have to be favored with home court, and they're a sizable advantage in the power rating. But if you like Mavs, like I do, Luka Doncic plus 180 is an excellent price for Western Conference Finals MVP. Luka last series was facing Lou Dort, who's a tank. Jaden McDaniels is 6'9", great length, amazing defender. He's a $190. And Luka's entire game is predicated upon dribble, 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 bump, fade back. And that shoulder that he wasn't able to get separation from with Dort, he's going to get that on Jaden McDaniels. Versus the top 4 defenders on that he faced in terms of matchups in the regular season matchups versus the Wolves, Luka shot 68% from the field. I think the Wolves are probably going to dare him to beat them. And guess what? Luka Doncic can absolutely do that. He looked much more spry, much healthier the last 2 games of that Thunder series. He had a bunch of turnovers in game 6, but he was 7 of 8 to start that game from the field. So I think this is going to be a much better series for Luka Doncic. And as I lean towards Mavs, which we'll get to, I like Luka plus 180. The other one's Karl Anthony Towns at 20-1. This is a long shot bet. The Wolves have Towns here, who has played so much better in terms of his composure and understanding how to attack mismatches. The Mavericks are going to switch a lot. That's one of their preferred coverages. They'll put guards on Towns like the Nuggets did with Jamal Murray and KCP. They'll put Kyrie Irving. They'll put Luka Doncic. They'll put these smaller guys on Towns, and if he plays reserved, he can get this going. If it's straight up matchups, PJ Washington, also not a big bruiser, and will give him more space from 3. If they put a center on him, they'll drop more, and Towns will have space to hit. I love this matchup for Towns. They don't really have anybody to defend him. So even though I think Anthony Edwards is the best player in the series, and I get that, Derrick Jones Jr., Josh Green, I don't mind those matchups. I think those are pretty good. You'll need help because Ant's amazing, but I think there's a good chance that Cat actually has a massive series, and there's a little bit of value on him as well at plus 2,000.
J Money, could you do the dribble thing, or is that you just going to let Matt do that?
There was way too many dribbles there, but yeah, Luka definitely that's what he likes to do. I would like to bet over and under how many times Luka looks to the ref and complains to the refs. I would lock that in for sure.
All right, let's get you guys out of here with best bets for game 1 specifically tonight between the Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight in Minnesota. The line's 4.5, totals at 207. J Money, you're looking to a player prop for tonight.
Yeah, I always say game 1 is the hardest to bet, especially seeing like the matchup, seeing how many minutes some of the bench guys are going to play. But one bench player I'm going to target for the Mavs, I know he hasn't had the greatest playoffs, but he's going to have to be huge for the Mavs, especially if they want to win this series as well. I like Tim Hardaway Jr. over 5.5 points at plus 105. Hopefully he can get at least 15 minutes in this game, but I do think he's a great two-way player. When he's hitting threes, Tim Hardaway Jr. could give the Mavs 10 or 15 points as well. Last year he was like the 3rd best player for the Mavs. I know he's coming off an injury, but I do think he'll need to be a big boost for the Mavs off of the bench in this particular game. And obviously the Wolves will be focused on shutting down Luka, Kyrie Irving as well, PJ Washington. So I think the bench guys for the Mavs are really going to be a target, especially if you like the Mavs in this series and in this game 1, like Matt does.
Okay, Matt. Yep, you said it a moment ago, leaning Dallas, and you're plenty fine with the money line.
Yeah, I'm taking Mavs money line here. Home favorites off of a game 7. So this is the Wolves. As a little bit of a note, I was in the post-game press conference and they asked Towns, what have you learned about the series that's going to carry you forward as you continue to push for the title? And Towns said, man, we're just so happy right now. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just staying in the moment. And I'm like, you have a game in like 2 days that you need to be prepared for. The Mavericks are not done. I am really worried that the Wolves genuinely think we beat the champs. We did it. We beat the champs. We got it.
But it felt
no,
like.
no, sir. Not with this Mavericks team and the kind of luck they're getting from PJ Washington. No, sir. Home favorites off of game 7 are 6-14 against the spread in game 1s. And of those 14 teams that failed to cover, guess what? They're 3-11 straight up. That's the Matt Mitchell rule. So teams in the Wolves spot, when they go ahead and they don't cover, they lose the game outright. Game 1 faves in the Western Conference Finals or Conference Finals of less than 5 points are 10-17 against the spread. That gets us into a range where at least this is possible here for the Mavericks to get the win better than the number. I'm on Mavs +4, but I like the money line quite a bit better. I think they're going to win this game outright, flip the series on its head. The Mavericks play style is antithetical. The Wolves were built to beat Denver. That's how they were constructed. The Mavericks are the opposite. They're not inside to a center and out. They're perimeter oriented. Much different matchup, much different team. Wolves are going to do the same thing, which is they're going to pack the paint. They're going to get away with a lot of fouls. And then they're going to dare shooters. And I like these, like Jay mentioned, I like these Wolves shooters less than I liked the Thunder shooters. So I'll take Mavs money line to steal game 1 and take home court advantage in the Western Conference Finals.
Excellent work, Matt Moore, Jay Money, both co-hosts of the Buckets podcast. You guys are live tonight. Is that correct? After tonight's game?
Yep. Brian Fonseca and I'll be with you live on Buckets at youtube.com/the Action Network. We'll react to game 1 and look at the game 2 market. We'll get ahead of that, as well as we'll take a look at game 2 for the Eastern Conference Finals and how that market continues to evolve. It's a great time. Come join us after the game on youtube.com/the Action Network.
Beautiful. And save your voice. I mean, when you're watching the game tonight, and you're going to be thinking about the dribble thing again, but you want to stay locked in for later on, Matt Moore. Okay.
Dribble.
Matt Moore, Jay Money. Thanks so much for joining the show, guys. Thanks.